Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And no, Drake won. The podcast wasn't gone. I was just on my honeymoon, man. I had to land here in the States. And basically, as soon as I did, I had to give y'all a video when it came to the latest, when it came to Texas Tech football and men's basketball, as it is just around the corner for year number one of Grant McCaslin and crew. So listen, hey, if y'all want to join one of the most interactive communities when it comes to Texas Tech football and men's basketball, y'all know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and like the video. But before we get into today's video, kind of giving my thoughts on what Joey McGuire said after the BYU loss for Texas Tech to move them to 3-5 and really on the brink of not making a bowl game this year. I just wanted to give a huge thank you to everybody that reached out in terms of congratulating us on the new marriage, as well as telling us to enjoy our honeymoon. It really does mean a lot to me and Haley. So a sincere thank you from us on that front. But let's jump right into this because I have some thoughts, not just about the BYU game, but Texas Tech moving forward. And if you're going to get triggered about this Ranger hat, I don't give a damn. The Rangers are in the World Series, so you bet your ass I'm going to be wearing this while they are doing well and hopefully winning bling for the first time for DFW on the baseball front. But before we get into anything else, I've got to ask y'all a question. Y'all know how this community works. What is the biggest change Texas Tech needs to make, whether that's on defense, offense, special teams, whatever it may be, in your opinion? What is the biggest change Texas Tech has to make in the final third of the season? Simple and plain. Just let me know down below. All right, let's get into the new stuff here, though, as Behren Morton is back as QB1. Joey McGuire says that Morton is back for the TCU game in primetime on Thursday night, a hybrid bye week, I guess is what you would call this for Texas Tech. Not a full bye week since they play on Thursday night in primetime, but here we are. He will be back, will Behren Morton, and Texas Tech does need him. Now, there are no limitations, according to Joey McGuire, for the Tech QB. Morton's shoulder mobility has improved drastically, as well as his back, right? Now, I'll say this about Behren Morton. If Texas Tech wants to make a bowl game, they have to start opening things up for Behren Morton. But first and foremost, the key to that was his health, right? And so him being healthy, this is a pain tolerance thing, right? And by no means should we be questioning if Behren Morton is tough. Those injuries to your shoulder, no joke, let alone your back, right? Like, he is beat up, right? So him coming back, taking that week off, I think was best for Texas Tech, right, in the long term if they want to actually get to bowl eligibility. Because let's face it, the Big 12 title's out of reach. That's what their main goal was. Now they're trying to get to bowl eligibility and continue with some of this momentum that they built in year number one. It's not going to be easy, though, as you look at the schedule, right, for Texas Tech. You play TCU in prime time, right, at home. There you go. But then you got to go to Lawrence, right? That's no easy feat right there. I don't care if it's Jason Beam at quarterback and Jalen Daniels. It doesn't matter. The Lance Leopold Jayhawks are a great team up there in Lawrence, right? Then you play UCF at home, and then, on Black Friday, you got to go down to Austin to play a Texas team that looks like they have a legitimate shot to not only play in the Big 12 title game, but maybe ruin some dreams and maybe sneak in somewhere as well, right? So you think about that. I think Texas Tech just has to open up, and we'll talk about some of the personnel groupings that I think they should use more, and they're going to be interesting in the sense of, RC, how are they going to open it up with that? Hear my logic here in a second, but also on the health front, I want to bring this up because according to Joey McGuire, they are getting starting linebacker Jacob Rodriguez back for TCU, so Texas Tech getting a little healthy, and that's kind of been some of the reason Texas Tech hasn't lived up to those expectations in the preseason. They've had a lot of bad luck when it comes to health, but that's not the only reason. Let's not act like, hey, that's the only reason that they're here at 3-5, right? They've made some bad decisions on both sides of the football and some bad decisions when it comes to game planning and coaching decisions, right? But all in all, you're getting healthy at the right time to potentially make a little bit of a run here. You got to go 3-1 to end the year to make a bowl game. Is that going to happen? I mean, your guess is as good as mine. And if BYU was any indication, woof. Let's jump into this back half, though, and the expectations for Texas Tech. Because, again, you sit at 3-5 right now going into the final 4 games of the year. And I didn't watch the BYU game live, but I went back and watched it in bits and pieces, right? And the thing that stood out to me was I actually thought the defense was actually pretty good in this one. Maybe take the pretty off. I thought they were good in this game, right? In the sense that the Tech offense really didn't give them any favors, right? 5 turnovers, 5. Like, what are you supposed to do if you're a defense? You held the team really to only 20 points because of that one defensive touchdown by BYU where there was a fumble into the end zone they recovered, right, early on to make it a 14-0 lead for the Cougars. But I mean, let's be real here. The run defense wasn't great, and BYU was the worst run offense in the Big 12, and Texas Tech allowed them to have 5 yards of carry. I think that they were more focused on not allowing Kendon Slovis to pass, right? And obviously, they really didn't do much. Texas Tech outgained them by over 100-plus yards of total offense in this one, right? Turnovers had something to do with it, though, as, again, 5 turnovers in this one. This isn't the only problem that it's happened, though, right? You look at Texas Tech the game prior, and now they're -8 in the 2 games that they've lost back-to-back in terms of Kansas State and then BYU. That has to change. But the thing that I think that they can change most, and again, call me an armchair couch. I really don't give a damn what you call me, right? I think they need to run more 12 personnel and 22 personnel because at this point in the year, right, you just need to get your best players on the field, right? And on the 12 personnel front, I know it's a little difficult because Mason Tharp has been battling through injuries, right? Baylor Cup, he's been doing the same thing. You've got Jaden York in that situation, right? Henry Teeter as well. You've got good tight ends, but you also have to use them blocking because, well, the offensive line, who we'll talk about in a little bit later on in the video, hasn't lived up to expectations when it's coming down to pass blocking. Run blocking, they've been pretty decent, right? But I think it'll be interesting to see if they use that more. And I think that you can scheme up things where you can get vertical with the tight ends, and that will allow you to go outside of the numbers and really create some space in the intermediate part of the field for your playmakers, right? But the one personnel grouping that I'm most interested in seeing from Texas Tech, and if they use it later on in the year, we've seen it in spots here, but not for long durations of time, is 22 personnel. And for those that don't know what that is, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 running backs. I want to see both running backs on the field at the same time. I think Taj Brooks and Cameron Valdez can work together in, well, just be simpatico, I guess, right? Taj Brooks is a really good running back in terms of pass blocking, and Cameron Valdez brings that lightning aspect out of the backfield. I want to see Zach Kitley get a little bit creative with that. You still have the tight end there where you can block with them. You still have 4 guys going out in terms of the route tree. Put some motion involved with those guys. Maybe get Cameron Valdez moving before the pre-snap, right, and everything like that, and allow your offense to maybe get a better look when it comes to what that defense is throwing out. Because, again, I truly believe if Texas Tech is going to make a bowl game this year, and right now, I've said it for a few weeks now, I just don't know if it happens, right? You're going to have to pass the football better. Right? Simple and plain, because teams are going to scheme against Taj Brooks now, right? And he's got the most missed tackles, according to Pro Football Focus, from any FBS running back on the year with, I believe, 55, which is crazy to think about, right? He's got a top 5 load in the country in terms of carries, and he's also top 5 in the country going into week 9 of the college football season in terms of yards, right? They're using him, right? But the thing is, teams are now getting up and saying, well, Texas Tech can't beat us in the passing game, so we're just going to load the box again. But also, they're not even loading the box sometimes. There were some schemes where I watched in the BYU game where it's like, hey, you didn't load the box there, and they gave it to Taj. Sometimes they didn't. I think they just have to be more consistent in terms of being creative. And I know that that's a very simple-minded way to say it, and that I'm not going too much into depth, but there's only so much time in this video, right? But I do really want to see Taj Brooks maybe with some angle routes, maybe him pass blocking and Cameron Valdez out in the, flat, putting him into space, right? Use your best playmakers, and I think Cameron Valdez and Taj Brooks are 2 of your 3 best playmakers on offense. You got to utilize them not only running the football, but also in the passing game and getting your offensive line out there and trying to create a wall for them to go and move vertically down the field. But before we get into the offensive line talk, I got to ask you guys one question. Again, 4 games remaining for Texas Tech. How many are they going to win? Just let me know down in the comments below by a simple number. You got 1 game, 2, 3. You think they go undefeated? Let me know down in the comments below. All right, before we get out of here, though, there was also some offensive line talk from Joey McGuire in terms of a switch up on the offensive line with the starters. Dennis Wilburn, who has been the starting right guard for Texas Tech, you may remember he was the starting center for the Red Raiders last year, will now move in to the center position again after Rusty Stats really struggled snapping the football multiple times against BYU. Now Dennis Wilburn will be the starting center and Rusty Stats will shift to right guard. All right, one more time before we head out of here, though, I want to get you guys' opinion. How many games will Texas Tech win of their remaining 4 on the year? Let me know with a simple 1, 2, 3, or 4 down in the comments below. And one more time, a huge thank you to everybody that has reached out for the best wishes when it comes to the new wedding new marriage. There we go. My goodness, it's hard to speak. I'm a little rusty here. No stats. But I appreciate everybody reaching out and sending their congratulations on the new marriage. It really does mean a lot to me and Haley. And one more time as well, like the video and hit that subscribe button if you want to be a part of the most engaging Texas Tech fan base community here on YouTube and the Back to 12 podcast channel.